Hi guys, my name is Daryl, and just a quick update. I've taken some time off from May to October. It's usually my busiest time of the year, so I don't have a lot of time to do videos, so I haven't posted in a while. During those 6 months, my business is really busy. I spend a lot of time with my family in the summer, as well as I train and I compete. So it just takes a lot of time and devotion to all that, so I just don't have a lot of time to do videos. But now it's the off season, and now I'm back in action, and I want to be doing more videos for you guys. I'm trying to do a video a week. So I look forward to continue sharing with you Vince Gironda's techniques as well as my own techniques, and talking about nutrition, talking about exercise, and also the vintage pieces of equipment that I've acquired over the years. And so I look forward to continuing on with the Vince Gironda experience. And so today I'd like to show you a great piece of equipment from my gym. It's an Ed Jubenville T-bar row. Now this goes all the way back to the 1970s, but it actually, Ed Jubenville had an earlier design of this actual piece of equipment back in the 50s and 60s, but this is the one that he developed in the 70s. The one that he had in the 50s and 60s was a little bit more, just a little bit more basic, but it didn't have the angle that this one has, so I'll explain that in a second. But this is a great piece of equipment. And again, I love the Ed Jubenville line because not only is it vintage, but it's also, it's like commercially built. Like I could actually put this in my gym and have the public use it, and I wouldn't have any problems with it because it can hold up to a lot of weight, and they're very durable. You know, it's a great piece of equipment to have at home, but also it's strong enough so that you could actually put it in a commercial setting. That's what Vince did. So he had a lot of Ed Jubenville pieces of equipment at his own gym. This particular piece of equipment would be something that you might even see in Vince's gym or that era back in the day, back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, because the big manufacturers just didn't come out yet. So a lot of these little bit smaller pieces of equipment were used, and it was great because it was just low overhead, but you could actually fill up an entire room with all these pieces of equipment without having to have a huge space. And so that's what's really cool about this stuff, is that, you know, you can put this in your house, and it's so lightweight, but it's extremely durable, but you can set up a really awesome gym in your house. So that was the idea back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even the 80s when Ed Jubenville was in business, that he wanted to have durable equipment that was lasting, but also that was durable and it could hold a tremendous amount of weight and be utilized for the gym setting as well as the home setting, and not be so expensive that people couldn't afford them. So that's why this equipment was so awesome back then. And to be able to have this equipment and to train on it, it just makes it even better, because, you know, I love the modern day stuff, but there's something about the vintage stuff that really excites me and motivates me to want to train every single day. It's just different. You know, I know that when I train for a contest, you know, that I'm only training on the vintage stuff. So it's like when you talk about classic physique divisions and things like that, you know, I'm training the exact same way that I learned from Vince, you know, 35 years ago, and I'm doing the exact same exercises that Vince prescribed, as well as using it on the same equipment. You know, it's just incredible to be able to, you know, take the program that he designed for me, and then to be able to follow it all the way to the very end, and then go on stage and say, okay, this is you know, how I look this year, and every year I try to do better than I did last year. So it's really neat to be able to have that connection, so that to be able to, you know, still follow what Vince taught me, it's really awesome. And, you know, I've never changed anything. So when I do a contest, I follow the exact same notes. I write everything that I wrote down from Vince, all the supplements, that's a 12-week program, and I follow it exactly the way to the T that I did all the way back in 1980. I think it was 1989 was my first show. And it's kind of weird because, you know, I know Vince has passed away and all, and Ron Kozloff passed away, Larry Scott's passed away, but whenever I train, I always feel like they're still with me in some way. It's kind of an odd thing, but, you know, I just feel like, you know, their knowledge is still present, and I'm still utilizing the same information that I learned all the way back then. So for me, it's never changed. So when people talk about old school things like, oh, that's old school, I've never really changed. I never left school. I mean, I've always been in the same grade, I guess. It's like I've never changed from what I was doing with Vince all the way back then to now. So when people talk about, oh, that's old school training, I'm like, oh, well, maybe for you it is, but for me, it's still the same way. I've never changed anything. So I've never taken time off. So I'm constantly doing the same things and implementing the same exercises and all the same protocols and the same nutrition, with the exception of the nutrition. A lot of the supplements you can't get anymore. But I've, over the years, talking with those that used to train with Vince as well, and things that they do now that kind of supplement what they took back then that you can't get anymore. So I've been able to learn what to take that's similar to what Vince was prescribing all the way back then. I remember when I was with Vince, he would send you everything. So you would get like this package of your exercise plan and then all the supplements. And so then along with each program, there'd be like a checklist so that you would send in for your next workout, next program, and then you send your check and you'd buy all the supplements. So every time you'd get your program, you'd always have your program with the supplements, and it was just really awesome. And all those supplements, some of them you can still get, but a lot of them are just have been discontinued, and you can no longer use them. But I, over the years, have come up with a lot of alternatives that are very similar, because I've learned so much from Vince and Ron Kozloff, Larry Scott, and Steve Davis, that I've been able to incorporate a lot of the supplements that are out there today to keep it as pretty close to what Vince was prescribing back then. There are some protein powders that Ron Kozloff used to sell, and what Vince used to use, and I used to love that stuff, man. It was like candy. It was so good, and I saw a huge difference in my body drinking that stuff. But I don't know what was exactly in it, but it was his protein powder, and it was really, really good. And I wish they still made that. But anyways, but over the years, I've learned how to kind of change things up. But it's just really neat to have all this vintage exercise equipment. So that's what motivates me, because I know that there's so many different programs out there. There's thousands of programs, and all these programs out there are awesome. There's a lot of great equipment nowadays. You can go to a gym and they have everything. For every aspect of the body, there's some type of a piece of equipment for it. I always come back to the vintage stuff. When I go on vacation and things, I go to gyms out in different places and just to kind of see what they have, and I crave getting back to my own gym, because the modern day stuff it's good, but I don't know. There's something about the vintage stuff that really, it's like an old pair of shoes. It's like you can't wait to put them back on. It's like you can buy the fancy shoes, and that's a $300 shoe, but I always want to go back to my slippers, just because they're worn in, they're broken in, and they're just comfortable. It's the same thing with the equipment. There's just something about using vintage exercise equipment that has stood the test of time. But they isolate the muscles so well that it's like, why am I going to change that? And so that's why when I do competitions, I only train on Vince's stuff and the vintage and all the vintage things that I have, because it's just, I want to have that look, and I feel that, for me, that's the look that Vince had, Steve Davis, Larry Scott, and all the greats. And so I kind of want to look like that, and to be able to train on that same piece of equipment, I feel like I'm still a part of that culture. And so that's what I'm holding on to, and I just love it. And that's why I just really appreciate, what Vince stood for back in the day, and the culture that he sort of created. And I just feel like I owe it to him to be able to continue that. And I always told Ron Kozloff that I would always continue on with teaching Vince's stuff. That's why, I love teaching the old stuff. Even though it's not old to me, it's still all brand new. It's like, I feel like I've never really changed over the 35 years. I feel like it's still as new as it was. I feel like it was just a year ago that we're still talking to Vince and Ron and Larry, and so it just goes by so quick. But anyways, I just like to keep this going and as far as long as I can, and I hope that what you learn from it is that it's something that you can build upon your training with. I'm not here to say that everybody's got to use this equipment and you got to go and search out for Ed Jubenville's equipment and fill up your house with it. But I just like it because I feel like I want to teach that style of bodybuilding rather than the bodybuilding of today. The bodybuilding of today is a lot different, and it's not as there isn't as much artistry, I guess you could say, in today's bodybuilding. Back when Vince was teaching, and there was more of a cosmetic, kinetic art to it. And now it's just, it's a different type of style, and that's the difference. So I feel like I love training with the vintage stuff just because of that fact that it really allows me to be a part of that culture. I still feel like I'm part of that, the wild physique era. And you look at those guys, like the golden era of bodybuilding, just their physiques were phenomenal. And, it was like a certain culture that, everybody wanted to be a part of it who bodybuild. It's like you always, you want to be a part of that Venice Beach experience or like sort of this Greek god culture that they preserved back in the day. And so, that's what I'm trying to hold on to. And that's why I love doing these videos, and I'm going to be able to share a lot more with you. I have a lot of information to give out. And but anyways, and so I want to show you a great piece of exercise equipment today, the vintage Ed Jubenville T-bar row. So here it is, guys. This is the Ed Jubenville T-bar row from the 1970s. It's been fully restored, and it's absolutely beautiful. The gentleman who did this did a great job. He has a great passion, like myself, in the Ed Jubenville line as well, and he really appreciates this old stuff and really brought this back to life. And this is a great piece of equipment, and it doesn't really take up much space at all. So it was designed back in the 70s to be used in a commercial gym setting, but also for your house. And it's strong enough to really take the beating of heavy power lifters as well as just regular guys that just want to use it at the home. And then the difference between this one and the earlier model of the T-bar row that Ed Jubenville designed back in the 50s and 60s is that if you look at the foot stand here, the 70s edition, it's more of a slope to it. The one in the 50s and 60s, there was no foot stand up like this. It was just more flat, so it was right on the floor. And so it doesn't give you the same range of motion as this does with the slope. So the angle, I believe Ed Jubenville figured out that by having that, it allowed guys to get a deeper stretch on the exercise and really promoted more of more leverage so that they can get, better range of motion using heavier weight. When it was down flat, the earlier models, it just did. A lot of times the weight would hit the floor, and the range of motion was a little bit different because the person could not get as bent over as much to really isolate the back, and so guys were injuring their lower back. So with the foot being at an angle like this, it allowed the range of motion to be improved, but also took the stress off the lower back. So it's just a really cool piece, and I'm going to show you this and how it works right now. And so it's real simple, but the angle of this is really what makes it so special, because it really allows you to get into a position so it really stretches the back, and it gets that just a great pump. And so all you do is just grab the handle and then just pull it right up. It's just so smooth and comfortable because when you're down into the squat position, the angle of the foot stand allows you to kind of sit back a little bit into it. And it takes the pressure off the lower back. And then when you come up, you can really get that strong contraction. It's an unbelievable pump to the back. It's just a really durable piece of equipment. Something so simple like this can build a massive back, and that's what's incredible about it. That you don't have to go out and spend, thousands of dollars for a row machine. You can do these types of exercises like on a landmine, or just a regular barbell. You can put it against the floor and get a handle. But, it's just a great piece of equipment to have because it's just so small and compact. I don't have to worry about, having a landmine because maybe I have one in my gym, but in the house it's just too big, so you kind of limited for space. And something like this is a great piece to have for the house. And that was Ed Jubenville's sort of whole idea, was to make it so that he could build small, compact, durable pieces of equipment like this so guys could have them in their houses as well as in their gyms, because back in the 50s and 60s and 70s even, the gyms weren't these big, massive corporations and thousands of square feet. They were very small. Like Vince's gym was very small compared to, even Gold's gym back in the day was small. So, they had to pack in a lot of equipment, and this is how they did it. They bought durable pieces of equipment back then that were like this because there were no other manufacturers at the time that were building those pieces of equipment. So, these are sort of priceless pieces of history. If you can ever find this stuff, then I would buy it because it's just great to have in your house. It's well made. I mean, this stuff is over 40 years old. Some of them you'll find that I have equipment in here that's over 50 years old and even 70, close to 70 years old. It's crazy, but it still works really well. And again, why not? Why not have it? If it works great, then that's what I say is, this stuff still works as good as it does now as it did then. And so this is just a great piece of equipment. It's just something that I love coming down, and just cranking out a few sets, and it's just fun to use. It's something that, again, as soon as you start to use it, you feel like you're back in that time period. And it's like, whenever I come down here and in the Vince's Gym Museum, and you kind of see everything, and you're using the equipment and training the same way and doing the same things that Vince would do for his definition program and his bulk program and so on. And you just feel like you're still a part of it. And I love it because it's almost like, I don't put any music on just like Vince would do. And, it's just like you close your eyes, you feel like you're at Vince's gym. And it's so cool because, the machines make the same noises they did in Vince's, and the leather smells the same, everything, and it's so awesome to be able to continue on with this and to train, again, the way Vince taught. And, I'll always train like this. It's just the lifestyle that I have chosen is to really keep into that classic vintage training style. Yeah, at my commercial gym, I have a lot of the modern day things, and during the off season I play around on the modern day equipment at work and at the business. But my main focus when I'm training, especially for competition, I always train on Vince's stuff. I do exactly what Vince taught me, and it seems to be working pretty well. And I know I've talked a lot on this video. It's been a while it's been 6 months since I've talked, so I'm just trying to get back in action here. But I know this is a long video. I do apologize for that. But again, I just wanted to show you this. This is the Ed Jubenville T-bar row from the 1970s. It's one of my favorite exercises. And it's just something that really is a great addition to the Vince's Gym Museum. And so guys, I want to thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or would like to learn more about my programs, you can check me out on my website. It's at www.darylconant.com. You can also send me an email. I usually try to get back to everybody who emails me, so be patient. Sometimes it takes me a few days, but my email is darylconant@darylconant.com. And guys, I want to thank you very much for watching. Take care. See you next time.